Welcome back to the Aversio Experience podcast. I'm Dr. Desiree Caruso, naturopathic physician. I am your co-host along with Brandi Garden, the co-founder of Aversio Wellness. This is a very exciting part 2 podcast episode with Dr. Laura Foster. If you haven't yet heard part 1, go back over to episode number 65 to hear all about the wisdom of Dr. Laura Foster, of how she went from chiropractor to knowing that something just didn't feel right despite achieving all the successes that she had envisioned for herself. And part 2 is a continuation of that conversation, of a reckoning, of coming back to yourself and making those subtle shifts so that you can fully achieve fulfillment and joy within your life. I'm so excited to bring you back to this episode and this conversation with Dr. Laura. We had to split it into 2 parts because we just didn't want you to miss out. So let's get into this conversation and I hope you enjoy it. Okay, so where did breathwork come into all of this, into your picture and your journey as a practitioner?
Well, it comes back to that same time. I was feeling pretty dysregulated. Even with all my tools in the toolbox, I recognized that my nervous system didn't feel fantastic during the pandemic. And part of the integration of that was breath work. And I actually remember thinking, oh, God, really? Like, so tired. My soul wants to take a decade nap and you want me to breathe hard for, it felt like 10 hours. And it was like the same breath for the whole time. And I just, like, my soul wanted to cry. Honestly, I felt like I wanted to cry. I was like, really?
You needed to cry.
Well, exactly. So what happened is I started breathing. I started doing what she said. I just listened. And at some point in it, it got really challenging, right? Where the resistance started to rise up. And with her facilitation, I just stayed with it. And I had a big release. I felt numbness and tingling and my leg was shaking and I had so much discomfort in my upper back and my neck. And at some point the tears started flowing and I got to the other side kind of in awe, slightly confused, and also recognizing that I felt so unburdened. And I use that word very specifically because I've really never done anything where I felt unburdened before. And I just noticed. And this feeling of being unburdened actually stuck with me for an odd amount of time, like longer than like a really great massage or something like this. And, I didn't go right back to breath work, but I had another experience a few months later. And then I called in another experience somewhere else. And I started to notice that every time I did it, I had a different experience, but there was something that lingered and I just noticed it. When I went to Costa Rica, I had still stuck with breath work. There's tons of breath work down there. And I found myself wanting to facilitate it because this was very nervous system regulating and I felt it. And because I had been working with the nervous system so closely for 25 plus years, I already knew that we live our life through the quality of our nervous system, through the lens of our nervous system. And if I could find something that was free, available to me 24/7 and efficient as heck as it is, driven by my own breath, why would I not learn that just also for myself, but also for any clients? And so that's what actually led me to doing my facilitation when I was down in Costa Rica. And I just knew that I needed to start practicing immediately. So right away,
Thank you for listening. Thank you for being so aware at the time that something was going to come to you, that was going to be it, and saying yes. Because in this moment, we will just say, if you have not experienced what Dr. Laura became certified to do, it will change your life and you need to go and do it. And we will share all about that, but carry on with that beginning of the journey for you, going from someone to receive it or be guided through it to being somebody who loves it enough. I mean, we all love it, but I'm not a facilitator of it. I want to receive it.
Yeah.
So something is pretty special about that. I'm just going to be nerdy and say moment of entanglement where you just know, the body, what you're describing is happening in that journey. And, we are lovers of mushrooms. So I understand that the body is literally being moved out of the past and it's beginning this renewing, this regenerating because of what you're doing, and you're doing it. No one's doing that to you. You did not, you're physically doing that for yourself. And because you live in your body and it feels better, you do it again. We just did it this morning when we needed to. And I think when that moment happens for us, you just know something's right. And it's happening to you and it's instinctive. And there's a knowing, and you knew it. You knew it to the point where your physical matter is responding to some kind of energy, and it's just what you're going to become.
It's true. And it was subtle and yet sustained. And what I started to notice is that I just wasn't clinging to life the same way. I would say, I'm not going to say that I mastered surrendering by any stretch of the imagination.
It doesn't happen in a second. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to, show someone I'm not. I definitely don't. But what I noticed is that it felt like I was flowing with life and I wasn't clinging to the sides of the river so much. It's the best analogy I could give. And I started to notice there was a gap between stimulus and response for me. Instead of reacting so much to life, and I wouldn't say I was a huge reactor, but there were things that were making me reactive, or I was having that experience where I was not as well within myself as I had been in the past. And, obviously there's all sorts of things that had happened, a few years ago that pushed the envelope for me serendipitously. And that knowing that I was now living through life in a different way is the thing that I wanted to connect to. So when I started to teach, I just did it, face to face in practice down in Costa Rica. I just started to rent space and call people in. And I think I did breath work for 5 people for 5 months. Like it was just the same 3, 4, 5 people. And I had decided that I was just going to teach it, whether or not one person showed up or more. And I did actually teach to 1 or 2 people on multiple occasions. And I just kept watching and tuning and watching. And there was something that was calling me in that I couldn't really specify at the time. When I started to recognize that I could take it from an in-person to an online event, just knowing that although we don't love the idea that we're always online or that we need to go online, there was also this way that you could touch people and invite people into the experience. So I played with it for about a year where I would just have these free events online. And pretty soon I started to get 50, 60, 80, 100 people, signing up and saying yes to them. And then eventually, again, same kind of thing as when I was in practice, my clients in breathwork started to teach me what was actually happening. And that's when I started to really get excited about, okay, I would like to create an ongoing experience, a membership, Breathe into Being, where you can come in when you want for 15 minutes, half an hour, 45 minutes, these little touch points that you can keep coming back to your breath. And that has been such a game changer for me to just hone the skill, yes, learn it for myself, have that experience, but also learn so much from the people who are graciously saying yes to the experience, I would say.
So would you say it's just getting better and better?
It is. I mean, like all things, you talk about being a teacher, and Desiree, I'm sure you can appreciate this as a naturopath. I can remember when I was about 5 years into chiropractic practice, I felt like apologizing to my patients that I had the first couple of years. And then when I was 10 years into practice, I was like, I'm really sorry for the care I gave you 5 years. And now I look back at my practice as a facilitator and I go, I really can, 2 years ago, I'm like, wow, that was something, and now it just keeps honing. And I think the style that I've been developing now is a softer, more subtle style. I'm not saying it's the only one. It's not the right one. There's no, it's not that kind of thing that I'm saying, but it feels in resonance with what I know to be true. And so that's really what I'm offering at this point. But the practice is changing as I'm learning as well over time.
And we've done breath work with, I don't know, Dr. Desiree, maybe 6 facilitators together, and no 2 are alike. And there's not a better or a worse. It's always, for whatever reason, exactly what we need in the moment. And your style was different than what we received. And I had only done breathwork in person in the beginning. And when somebody said to me, oh, we're going to do it online, I was like, what's that now? No, I can't. How will that work? Because I thought I need the person here to be sharing this space and guiding me and putting their hands on me. And what that first experience was, I believed there was this, prescription of things that were making it. And doing it online the very first time and having a beautiful experience was so empowering because I first then realized, oh, I'm doing this. I'm
Right.
doing this. Like I'm a shaker. I shake. I'm sure you experienced. And I will release. And that, like my body in those experiences with you particularly, because there is a real softness, I will say, like a almost mothering feeling there. Like it's weeping with joy because I know I'm releasing the past. And for me, who has been on a healing journey, it's the feeling of literally my body being liberated from pain with someone through a screen. Like if that's not medicine, I don't know what is. And it is a gift. I know, not everybody is capable of facilitating it, but we all are capable of receiving it because we were all born with breath and we're going to have our breath until the day that we die. And to go a day more in your life without putting yourself in a place where you can receive some instruction from somebody as aligned with their values, as I don't even know how to describe what happens when the session begins with you there, but I just feel held. I know Dr. Desiree would say she feels a very similar way. Others on our staff have experienced it. I know other people just personally that have been in, and we are all experiencing something different.
Right.
We are all moved by the music that you choose, which I believe the music is a hidden therapist and all kinds of things like that. And you have exposed me to music that I now have shared in meditation and other things with other people that has changed their life.
Beautiful.
So it's just such this beautiful thing. And what you said in the very beginning, it's free and it's always available to you after you've kind of practiced it. Like I would never be able to do what I can do now so quickly if I hadn't learned from somebody who is leading the way, guiding the way.
Yeah.
So for all that you went through in your life to come to, would you ever have, like looking back to 18-year-old you,
No.
would you ever have thought breathwork would be the thing?
I never thought breathwork would be the thing because I've never enjoyed breathwork before. Well, again, to be clear, I don't even know if there was breathwork 10 years ago. If there was, I wasn't aware of it.
There was. Stanislav Grof was the beginning of holotropic breathwork because of this is our journey, when psychedelics were banned and people could no longer connect to consciousness through consuming a psychedelic, whether it was LSD or psilocybin, they were not willing to give up the research they were doing on consciousness itself. And they knew they had to find a way to continue, and breathwork was the way in. And I think that if you're out there and you have had a psychedelic experience, I challenge you that you do not need the psychedelic when you get really good at this let's get in, because the endogenous chemicals you are able to create in your body when you ask it to do what it innately was born to do, it can be just as good.
As good. The altered states of consciousness that are available to you to be able to kind of lift the veil between what you believe to be true and what you know to be true. Those are two things.
Say more. Say more about this.
I mean, where people tend to start with breath work is just literally connect with their breath, right? Like it starts there. When you push the body or you really enter into a state where you are breathing very deeply and you're doing it for an extended period of time, that's when you start to get into altered states of consciousness. And the reason that the healing can happen in that state is because you take the thinking mind out of the experience, because the body already knows what to do with it. All of the experiences, a few minutes ago, I said you live your life through your nervous system, but you live your life through your matter, through your energy, through all of the things. And as you go through life, whatever you don't process and digest, you host. You have somewhere in your cells of your being. And we have a very difficult time thinking our way into resolution of that. Welcome psychotherapy. And it's not a bad thing, but it's difficult. And what can happen when we do talk therapy is we just keep playing the message that keeps wiring the nervous system, that keeps us in states of stuckness. And so to be able to lift the mind out of that and trust that the body can create the transformation, that's where that comes. And so by focusing on the breath is the portal into all of that. So we don't have to know how to do it. We don't have to know where we hold it. We don't even have to know how to release it. None of that is important. You don't even have to think our way back through it and have the repeat experience of whatever it is that's holding in your system. You allow, really, you pass it over to something much deeper inside of yourself. So through that process, the energy starts to move, things get processed, and you start to release it. And it can be released in all sorts of ways. You spoke to it already. There's this deep somatic process that you can augment the whole healing process. And really what will happen is if you can separate yourself from the person who judges you, right? Then you can actually get out of your own way too. Allow yourself to kind of lean into whatever noise you want to make and whatever movement you want to make and however you want to move yourself through the experience. But bar none, even if you don't believe in it, even if you're not trying to have a transformational experience, your breath will shift, right? And it's not going to be one of those things where you're going to end up somewhere unbeknownst to you. You're going to end up somewhere closer to who you really are.
Yes.
Yes. And it's beautiful because it is not something that you have to relive. It's not a thought process like this thing happened to me. And oftentimes we don't even know what we're holding. Consciously we don't know what we're holding. And all of it, that holding in the body will show up, and we all know this, in a multitude of different ways. It's all these symptoms that are literally just built in symptoms of communication. It's the way that the body can speak to you. We hold on to these pieces on many, many, many levels. And so for me, it's like if you can remind somebody of who they are and all you need to do is use their breath, it's a pretty remarkable thing. There's the experiences I notice that people have in the event of breath work. And then there's the cumulative shift that I notice when people practice breath work over a period of time. That's the part where it's like, we all love the big, robust release, right? Like the movement of energy through your body, the tears, the whatever, the feeling. That's what drew me to breath work. Feeling unburdened at the end and kind of confused how that all happened. That's the thing that brought me to breath work. It asked me to keep coming back. But what really changed me was not just those experiences, but just this behind the scenes shift. It's like I had more tools available to me that I was unaware of. And I was able to go deeper with things. And so it's just all of a sudden like parts of me just started showing up that I hadn't seen met before or seen in a very long time, or probably just met before.
Right. It's the child in you that, because you are. I think what happens, and like sciencey, I'm always like, why is that happening to me? Why is my body behaving that way? But to me, it is this feeling of the body moving closer to regulation, moving closer to balance, moving closer to homeostasis. That's the feeling that makes me keep coming back for more. And I think in our day-to-day life, we're not thinking of that. It's so much easier to pop a pill. It's so much easier. And can I tell a little story?
You can tell a big story.
It's about today.
Okay.
Because there's a reason we're having this conversation today. And I used breath work today because I have learned it from people like you. And it is something that carries forward into your life as you go. So I had 2 meetings this morning before my actual work meetings, personal meetings, one of them with a doctor. So I'd had a test that honestly, I'm very healthy, but I had applied for some life insurance because I'm 50 now. So I had to have an ultrasound, and because of a family history thing, not because of my health, because someone in my family is not well, and I can't get life insurance unless I prove that I'm not just like them. Hello, that's first part of the problem. So I take time out of my day. I had a procedure like literally months ago. I don't even care about the result because I know I'm good. I know this body has the innate capacity to regenerate itself at any age, whether I was 20 or 50. I just didn't know it then, and I do now. So I have had texts coming to me repeatedly, you need to book an appointment with your doctor to get your results. I'm like, no, I don't. I ignore, but I'm literally now getting these texts every second day. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to phone and make the appointment and get the thing. And Dr. Desiree says to me, Brandi, this is your body. Just phone them and say, just give me the report. It's about my body. I'm a tax-paying citizen. No, they would not release the report to me. I had to get an appointment. So I wait another 2 weeks to get a phone appointment with the person so that they can tell me about my body. So I've already created this going on. And I'm looking back now and going, how long have I been creating this issue for myself around this whole thought about me and the conventional medical system that came down to this morning? And in that phone call, the information that's delivered and the way it's delivered and just all of it, it could make me go crazy. So I am in a dysregulated state to start my day. I've done that to me with my thoughts and the experience around the whole thing. I am feeling totally out of balance, not in a state of creation anymore. And then I had to back that up with another phone call because my children have had an experience with BC Children's Hospital because of a genetic inherited metabolic condition that they have that just happened to be back to back. So I have 2 experiences with the medical system this morning. I know, Dr. Desiree, would you say I was pretty dysregulated by the time we met?
Pretty dysregulated.
And we were meant to record together. And I came into that meeting complaining and judging, like all the things that I'm not that person anymore. Right. And I'm so lucky to have a good friend that, nodded. And I said, am I overreacting? You're probably overreacting, she said to me. And I said, I don't know that I can record right now. And she said, what did you say to me? She said, do you want to breathe? Like, how about we just do some breath work? And I was like, what are you talking about? We can't do that. There's things on the calendar. And we canceled what we were to do for half an hour. And we played the song that you played the last time I did breath work with you that I knew. And we shut it down. And it took, I don't know, it was less than 3 minutes. I will say that. Less than 3 minutes.
What a gift for you.
Hello, everybody out there. And I'm right back. Like the tears come. My only words were, that's not who I am. Like, what was I thinking? What was I saying? What was I doing? Because all it did was bring me back to real me. And then I get to come in and have this conversation with you. But if that's not synchronistic, and like the way that I feel right now, I recognize how I've been subconsciously holding this until this, like, is that a breakthrough? A breakdown? They can be massive and they could be small, but I'm not the same person that I was at 9 o'clock this morning when I went into that. And it took 3 minutes of intentional, like I'm not saying we just stop, it's intentional breathing for me to literally feel regulation, feel homeostasis come into my body and remind me who I am, who I'm choosing to be and who I'm not.
It's beautiful.
And that is something that everybody needs to experience. That is why you're on this episode. That is why we've been waiting and hoping for so long to figure out how we can make it all work so that you could come and say those words that you just said, how powerful it could be. Because like you're saying, I'm not the only one. This is your experience with the hundreds of people. I don't know, maybe it's thousands. Well, but I'm sure you have hundreds of those stories.
I definitely have a number of stories, but also, number one, the first thing that comes to mind is the human experience. It's just, we can all relate to this, but it's how you related to that human experience that I think is the real teaching moment there, is just something happens and it's what we do with it. So even just that part where, we can go back into old patterns and then also we can shift that. So that's available to everybody. And I think life is like a spiral. It's not like things are just going to keep happening to you, but it's like there are themes in life that oftentimes you'll notice are around you. And it can get frustrating if you don't have a context to give it, which is when life comes back around to meet me with something that I've had in the past, I just recognize it's for me to have the experience in a different way, which is exactly what you just said.
Yeah, and the backside of the spiral, we call it.
The backside of the spiral, and the compassion that we can have for ourselves for being human too, right? And so, when you have somebody in your life that can remind you of that, I mean, that's a gift. That's what we all need around us, are other people who can see that in ourselves and help us kind of come back to our truest state.
And I'm assuming that's your membership. Because not everybody has Dr. Desiree in their screen first thing in the morning.
I mean,
that's your membership.
There is a community there. There's a community of humans that are the reason we sign up for things and the reason that we want to be in certain experiences, whether we're talking about my membership or anything else, is because of the collective experience. And there is a coherence, there is a resonance that starts to run. So I will often say, even though we're England, United States, BC, doing something, even this, we are having an individual experience collectively together. And it's not by accident that happens. And that we think that we understand this process of how to heal certain things. That's just the cognitive mind trying to get in the way. It is our natural default is to heal. Always.
Say it again.
It is. It's the natural default. It will always default to healing. What we want to practice is just lifting ourselves from having to try and micro control all of that.
Yes.
Right? It's that thing where we want to like get in there. I'm not saying there aren't supportive things that we can do. Of course there are. But at the
old
same
me
time,
just wants to do that. Like that is my unconscious state.
right.
Right. And I think so many people in our community, and we are a mushroom company. People are coming to us for reishi and lion's mane. They are coming to us because something's not right.
Right.
And this is one thing. And we love to be able to offer that, but it's never the whole thing. And that's why the podcast, that's why this information is you're going to micromanage and throw another thing. But if you don't get the calm, let's just put one word on it.
Yeah.
And I don't mean it as like calm down or relax. It's so different than that. And it's ineffable, right? We can't describe it. But if we don't get that down, and we have people coming us to this and for the nourishment. And then I love neuroscience. I could learn all day. Like I could just read the books and do all of the growing that way. But if we don't we can get to a place and calm so we can listen to our good friend when they say, how about we breathe together and remember who we are? Let's feed our bodies well. Let's continue to grow and learn. But if then you don't have the connect on the other end, you're always going to feel like something's missing. So that's to me what is like come through your life, really, that there's this contribution to the collective consciousness is what we will always call it. That when you are not just receiving what's going on around that others are trying to put out there, but you become a contributor to what's happening in this world that we can't deny, we all feel happening, something's going to feel like it's missing for you. And you're going to hunt and hunt and hunt for the next thing. And you're going to set the other goal. You're going to set an intention. You're going to get the job or the divorce or the whatever.
You're going to do it.
And you're going to find out one day. Don't let it be when you're 100. When you connect to something as beautiful as what Dr. Laura's throwing down, everything changes. Everything changes. And it is available through a screen. And I was a non-believer. It is available because we are all connected. We are all connected, I will say, in the field and be nerdy. Hello, everyone. We're taking a quick break to invite you to a retreat. Why? Because you have built a life that looks really good on paper, and still there's this hum underneath it, like something isn't moving.
And that's not a strategy problem. That's an identity problem. And the parts of you that are ready to evolve can't find room to surface inside the same walls, the same routines, the same version of you that everyone already expects.
Yeah, so we're going to take you right out of it. Our retreat is called The Shift. And if you are ready for a shift, if you are stuck, this is going to be 3 days in Whistler, October 15th to the 18th. Away from your inbox, away from your role or your many roles that you play, from your reality as you know it right now.
And inside that space, we're going to walk you through the program Change Your Mind, Create New Results. It's Dr. Joe Dispenza's program for uncovering the patterns running underneath everything. A sound bath and breathwork session with our friend Tess Rouse, a silent thermal journey at the Scandinave Spa in a sacred old-growth forest to integrate it all.
Take me there right now. And we're going to feed you all your meals over the whole weekend. Beautiful food from the Pan Pacific in Whistler. And when you leave, you're going to leave with real tools and a pretty awesome swag bag. And you're going to leave with us walking alongside you afterward, because we really believe that integration shouldn't stop when you leave a retreat. So for a month after, you're going to meet with us every week to make sure that the work you did at the retreat, the things you learned at the retreat, you actually know how to bring them into real life. We're going to hold your hand through that.
20 seats. Early bird pricing ends August 31st. You can go to aversiawellness.com/pages/the-shift-retreat, or you can check out the link in the show notes. We also have a link for the retreat in our link in bio on Instagram, or on our website. You can go under the Shop Now tab and click The Shift Retreat.
All right, everyone. We hope we'll see you in Whistler.
Okay, and back to the show.
It is. Yeah. It seems nerdy, but thank goodness. I mean, when I used to talk about that 20 years ago, I definitely outed myself as one of those weirdos. And now it feels very natural to say that, because we've all had the experience of energy. And you talked about it earlier, which is like just somebody's ability for their energy to precede them. And we call it all sorts of things, don't we? Someone walks into a room and we feel their energy and we establish rapport with people. It's just that person having high resonance and that energy just really moving out. And I think really when we're around these experiences, what's great about that is we get to notice that. And there is something that gets evoked within ourselves, which is kind of why, and this is a whole nother thing, but this is why who you hang out with and what you surround yourself with and all of these experiences are much more powerful. And I think we give ourselves awareness of. I know you are aware of it, but like the people around you, and the around you isn't always just the people in the room with you that surround you this way, but it's also what are you looking at through the screen of your handheld device? What are you watching on the tube? What are you reading? Like what all these things that are you're giving free access to your energetic field, they're important.
Yeah.
And at the
that can
same
even
time,
the thoughts of the past things that you're repeating, maybe it's been subconsciously, that you're letting that past energy stay with you. And again, this is, and you talked about psychotherapy. We have great friends who are psychotherapists. I believe there's a place for it. It's the for how long? For how long before there's something else that you're going to do on your own, and it's not going to include the past.
Right.
It's not going to include the past because
it's really powerful to say that and to recognize that too. It's that part of just taking ownership over something. And it's hard to do that when we're always looking backwards.
Yes.
You know, it's just all sorts of things can happen I know I've had lots of crazy experiences in my life, but it's like, what place are you going to give that in the definement of how you're moving forward? And it really can come down to these simple things that we talked about, Desiree talked about, just a decision. Oftentimes it can be just a decision that you're going to allow it. And, you know, that's kind of what I talked about when I was younger. I don't think I was so conscious about it, but when I was 18 and I recognized that I was moving to cities to go have an experience and go to university. Nobody knew me. And there was something in that whole experience where I just kind of decided I was going to show up differently and not
an opportunity.
An opportunity. I could just be more me, really. And that more me looks nothing like the me now. Of course, but that's not the point. I mean, we have many, many seasons in life, and all of these experiences help define who we are. And the more that you can just kind of keep leaning into the truth of yourself, the more that you will start to find that. And not by finding it like you know the whole path forward, but you just kind of lean into the next step or lean into the next decision or start to follow, you know, pull on the thread. I'm going to teach breathwork. There's something here for me. Is it everything that I do in life? It's not. Is it seem particularly important? The most unexpected gift? It has been, for sure. But we all have those things. It's just kind of whether or not you can lean into them and trust that there's something there for you, or you lean away from it and you just decide that's not you because you're working off of an old identity, or someone told you, or you subconsciously picked up along the lines that wasn't okay for you. But it's available.
And and I love that you're saying it's for right now, because we also have a wise friend that said to us that they hope to look back a year from now and be embarrassed of the person that's there. And I'm like, oh, what a horrible thing to say. But I actually love it because it's that hopefulness and that permission really to not have to think. And I think you talked about your kids being in their 20s and similar. And there's this expectation that people that young have to make a decision about what they're going to do for the entirety of their life. And that pressure is insane to put on somebody in today's world that's changing so quickly. And it's changing a lot faster than it did for us. Like you're saying, the pre-social media time, you know, things took longer to change then. Now, every day things are different. How can we possibly expect young people to know what they will do 50 years from now?
100%.
Just decide what's right now. And then a year from now, we're going to meet again. Hopefully sooner than that. But I already can see in somebody like you that the evolution has just begun. And that's what's exciting. If it's this good here, can it get better? Yes. It can. Can we just believe that it just gets better?
It just gets
better. Can
better.
that be the thought? It does. It just gets better when you become less worried about all of that and more worried about all of this, and then show up and share that, because that's the other piece. I'm sure there are a lot of people doing incredible things, but identify as introverts or shy or not good enough or whatever, that are not shining their light in the world. And it doesn't have to look a certain way because Instagram said it did or whatever. It's in all of us, and it's for us to share, which is why I wrote a book. I did not want to write a book. Ask Desiree. I did not sleep the night before. Like, am I really going to put this in the world? People are going to know how weird I am. I was so afraid.
She did say that.
I was like,
I'm outed.
what am I doing? And the minute it was out, one person had to say to me, this was helpful to me, and not in so many words. And I realized, oh my gosh, this is it. We are here to tell our story. We are here to inspire someone with the littlest dumb thing, because that could be the biggest thing in someone else's life.
It's true.
And this is you. This is this story of you this is why we had to share you with people in your community that might not have experienced all of the you that there is, and what it's going to become. That's the best part.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? I'll let you know. I feel like I'm also in one of those transformations, coming back to Canada and being in this place where I got to ask myself again, like, what's right now? What's for me? What's kind of on the edge of my consciousness that's calling me in, and how can I change it? I mean, there was a part of me that said, like, am I really going to go back to school for 3 years? And then I thought, 3 years just comes and goes. Like, I don't have to know where all of that goes. I can just say yes to it and have the experience inform me. And I don't know that we do that enough.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think it all has to make sense in a certain way. Can we lighten up a little? Like you said this about young people, but also I know many 40 and 50 somethings, every age, where we just put so much pressure on ourselves to have it be a certain way, instead of just standing a little bit more solidly in our feet, tuning in a little bit more into our own intuition, and having this little bit of trust, just this little piece that asks for guidance along the way. I mean, I'm not afraid to admit that just before we pressed record, just before I came on this call, I did the thing that I so often do, which I said, please show me, please allow me to communicate in a way. It's okay if it's messy, but just let me communicate in a way that one person needs to hear the thing that they need to hear. And if I have to stumble over my words, or, whatever, cringy at some point, it matters, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. That is how I wrote every day. I had a sticky note before I would even start typing. I would just say, use me as just use me as the thing that needs to be. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be pretty. It's my story. It's not going to be wrong, but let me say it in a way that it's what somebody needs. And I do feel that from you. Okay. So there is more that you do, though.
There are a few things. Yeah.
Well, and I think, what we're talking about with remembering who we are, you said that, Laura, when you were describing breathwork, like breathwork is really separating yourself from the analytical mind and remembering who you are. And also that collective community and resonance. I think that is why retreats are so beautiful for so many people, because you're stepping outside of all the things and people and habits and routines and, XYZ that make you in this moment, but you're stepping out of that with a facilitator who is leading, and that's you, leading these retreats, bringing you home to remember yourself, using tools like breath work to separate from the analytical mind. What a gift. Like, that's why people want retreat. We're just craving more community, but also craving to be more connected to ourselves, because in society, all the things that we've talked about are designed to separate us from our true soul, from our true
100%,
self.
100%. Right? You're right.
Okay, tell us about retreats.
Well, if you haven't already guessed, I create things that I myself want.
I love it.
It's the best way. Why do you think we own a mushroom company?
Right.
It's 100% how we did it.
I love your mushroom company. Holy cow. So how it started for me was I originally started doing events that were augmenting the work I was doing as a chiropractor. So teaching people about the language of the body and, just teaching them about innate intelligence and doing all the things. And what happened is your ambassador, Jen Pike, and I were practicing together, and we decided to do what started off as a one-day event. Then we did a weekend event, and we thought, oh my God, we're going to have all day Saturday and all day Sunday. And it went by like this. But the whole intention of it was, let's teach the people, these women, about the things that they ask us about all the time in practice. And we went there and we started teaching. She was teaching about nutrition. This was many years ago. And I was teaching about, I don't even know what I was teaching about. But anyways, we get to the point where the conversation goes sideways.
Yep.
And we, as it always does, and I start talking about specifically about what it means to live in the truth of who you are. And I'd actually never heard myself specifically say all of these words. But I remember we were just talking and everyone was listening. There was about 30 women there. And the next thing I know, we're crying and we're touching on things way beyond what I had been talking about. And I recognized that now we were talking about the woman behind the symptoms. And that was a very defining moment for me. I started to recognize, together with my own transformation that we talked about, that this human at the core of who we are is here for a reason, and she does know what it is. And this relationship that we have with ourselves sets the tone for every other relationship we're going to have in our entire life. We get it backwards. We spend an inordinate amount of time developing relations around us at the expense of this relationship that we have within ourselves, not consciously. We do it unconsciously. And there's many reasons, especially why women are prone to this, but it's because we have a lot of outward facing energy, way that we are kind of taught to be in the world. And I'm making generalizations, but just that is one of the reasons why we don't often pause much early in life to really. So when I had this experience, Jen and I had this experience, I started to shift everything about the way I started doing retreats. I didn't want to talk about the downstream issues that come as a result of not feeding this relationship that we have within ourselves. And that's where every other experience. So the 2 days were no longer enough. Now I had Thursday to Sunday. Then pretty soon I had 5 days. And then pretty soon I started saying yes to 7-day retreats. And then I thought, how do I marry the best of? Where do I take all the things little Laura wants to do on retreat and find the women that want to do it with me? Because this is great, but let me tell you, and you know this, being in circle together is right the fuck where it should be. Yes. We're all meant to be there. And so I literally leapt before I could even walk, and I signed a $40,000 contract for a retreat in Costa Rica many years ago. And literally
before you lived there or after?
Before I lived there, years and years ago.
Interesting.
And
foreshadowing.
I also wasn't a yoga teacher at the time, and I felt like yoga had a place in it. I wanted to do something because that was also one of the modalities. I'm like, it's you in the 6x2 mat, and like who you're being here had a lot to do with who you're being in life. And so I approached this yogi down in Toronto that I liked. I didn't even know him. I asked him, I was like, I asked him if he would meet me for coffee, and he was like, don't worry, he's gay. He wasn't thinking we were having a date. That sounded really weird when I said that. So I approached him because I loved what he talked about in class. And so I met with him and I pitched this and I said, I have this program. It's called Heart Spark. And it's this spark that you get. And I explained this whole thing. I didn't have a program named Heart Spark. I wanted to have a program named Heart Spark. And I wanted to do this retreat a year from now. So I'd already signed the thing. He said, oddly enough, he said yes. And then that was it. We had our first retreat. And
he came with you.
He came with me. He co-facilitated.
Cool.
And I thought, I'm gonna do this experience, and we're gonna have this transformational experience. And we just kind of loaded it up with all the things that we felt were really nurturing. But I guess to say at the end of the day, I'm on the plane and I have played with this, what I'm going to do the entire year, the whole year. I'm like, I have like a whole time.
Micromanaged it down to the second. Yes.
Yeah. But do I have a program? Not really. I have a bunch of nuggets of things.
Yes.
And I was so deeply uncomfortable, like so deeply uncomfortable. I felt like the biggest imposter of all time, but somehow we had 18 humans that said yes, and bless their soul. I just kind of fumbled through the week and we got to the other end, and it felt so insanely right that I just kept following the lead to it. So that's a very long way to say the gift of retreats and the experience of leading retreats and being part of the co-creation of the experiences has been really, yes, transformational for me, but has been something that I have continued to lean into. I'm doing about four retreats a year at this point, and it's been great.
And all over.
That's beautiful.
You don't always go to Costa Rica. Summer in Canada.
We're having one in Italy in a couple weeks. We just signed a contract for Portugal next year, and different ones like that. So yeah, I mean, now it's at the point where there's some of them I do solo, some of them I do with other really incredible women. And it is never a top-down project. It's never leaders leading. Yes, of course, there's leaders leading, but at the same time, it is always such an incredible co-creation. The women that say yes to the experiences, there's a reason that they say yes to those. You know how it is. It's always this specific group that comes together that's very much meant to be. And I'm embarrassed to say that at the end of every retreat, I'm always like, this is the best retreat ever. And the truth is, I mean it.
That should be the goal to keep, that's the way it should be. It just can get better and better all the time. And we are big, just the word retreat creates a beautiful energy in my body because we do have to, unfortunately, the world we live in today, we got to live in this world today, right?
Yeah.
There's going to be 24 hours in the day. I mean, I like to pretend there's no such thing as time, but we do have to live in this world today where there actually is. And the word retreat says to my soul, we're going to move out of that expectation and that recognition of time and that way that we eat and that way that we talk. And we're going to retreat from this world that we've created over here and go over here where we get to be, like what you said, almost a reinvention or a remembering back to who we really are for a short period of time. And 3 days, you're right, it's not enough for me anymore. I liked a 7-day because I learned who I was in 7 days after not really knowing who I was for 17 years. And we just came back from a 10-day. So I like the Dr. Joe Dispenza meditation retreats, as people know. And I also have on my bucket list to attend one of your retreats.
I can't wait.
I cannot wait.
When the time
I've already
presents.
seen it. Yeah. Yes, I've already seen it. Future me's done it. Dr. Des is with me. Our whole staff is there. I know the time will come when it's right, when we're working on where we're going. So I predict that as the world heads to a more AI generated place, human beings will crave more true, real, in-person, face-to-face connection. And that is going to come to us through more retreat. So I love that you offer them regularly and in many places where we can go and experience this beautiful planet and not be so stuck in what our parents and teachers and government told us who we're meant to be, bringing it all back. So that is the exciting evolution that I think makes me really want to hear what comes of those and how they evolve. And, you're just female Joe Dispenza to me in my mind, doing it in a different way. That's meditation for me. That's where I'm growing right now. That's what I am, drawn to more of. I also recognize I'm going there to work. Yes. Like when I go to those retreats, I'm going with intention to not come back the same person anymore in a different way. There's something to me. And are yours women only?
The ones that I'm doing are women only. I have done lots of co-ed in the past. It's the thing that's most resonant with me. So that was a transformation, like a transition for me a number of years ago when I recognized there was something important about being in the room with only women and women being encircled together. And not to say that men can't contribute to that, but there was definitely just a veil that lifts when you put a bunch of women together. We are definitely meant to heal in community. The power of our story, the power of our presence, the land that it's kept on. Like there's so much intention that goes into where something is hosted.
Yep.
It has to have the right energy.
It does. And I think that having the both, and that's where I think there's a craving in me to sit in circle with just women. Right. And that's, I think, the offering of more and different types of things. Retreat doesn't mean one thing. And what is it that you need right now should be the question. And if it is sitting in circle with women who now you know what you're going to get on the other side, this is it. This is it. And I encourage people to go. And I know, I was just on your website the other day because I'm building out my 2027 calendar right now. And I didn't know Portugal was coming. But for sure, if you are someone that is out there and listening and thinking, I need to speak more of this language or be with people that are at least curious. You don't have to agree with everything and we're all at different places. Jen Pike always says, don't compare your chapter 2 to someone else's chapter 28. I like that little analogy. And if you put yourself in the room and just be in the space, you will come back with more of an idea of where you're headed and what is your balance, what is your state of regulation, what really feels like you. So please do go check out. And what is your website for this, Dr. Laura?
Soulinspiredgirl.com.
Soulinspiredgirl.com. I love that.
Yeah. Thanks, Brandi.
That fits so well.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Laura, for joining us on the podcast. I feel like we probably could chat for hours and hours and hours. So we'll just have to have you on again to chat about all the things. But this was a beautiful conversation. I think your words and wisdom are going to land for so many people in so many different ways. People who are really looking for a guiding light to lead them home to themselves. And if breathwork, retreat, any of the offerings that Laura offers resonate with you, check her out, because, you can definitely feel your energy through the screen, even though we are not in the same room. I feel it, and grateful to share this space and time with you. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Deeply grateful. I appreciate both of you and all the things that you're doing in the world. It's been a big part of my lifestyle, Versio Wellness. And it just, when we speak about resonance, this is one company, your company, that is in deep resonance with me. So thank you so much. It's been such a gift to have this conversation.
Thank you so much. Let's do it again soon. Sending you so much love.
And that's a wrap on today's unhinged episode of the Aversio Experience. These conversations sit close to our hearts. Stepping outside the structure and just being honest with you about what we're navigating, what we're learning, what we've gotten wrong, and what we're still figuring out. That's the kind of connection we started this podcast to create.
Yes, and we hope something in today's episode landed for you. And if it did, we hope that you will share it with someone in your life who will get it. That's genuinely how this community continues to grow. One person passing something meaningful on to another. And if you haven't yet left us a rating or review, subscribe to the podcast, or followed us on social media, we would so appreciate that. All of the links are right here in the show notes below. And that just helps us reach more people who need to hear this. And when you're ready to bring functional mushrooms into your daily ritual, you can head on over to aversiowellness.com and use podcast 15 at checkout. And that code will save you 15% on your order. And it's for our whole community, any order, anytime.
Thank you so much for sharing this moment with us, Fungi friends. Until next time, be well.